All right, what's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV back here for another panel show for you guys. We've got a debutant making the panels. Let's introduce him, Sonny from Sonny Talk Spurs. How are we doing, Sonny?
I'm really looking forward to this, getting stuck in, good start to the season, a lot of good fixtures coming up as well in the Premier League. So I'm very, very excited.
Well, I was about to say new guest, but you all know this guy by now, Iggy from Tottenham Away. How are we doing, Iggy?
Big up, Ben. Big up, guys. Big up, everyone in the chat. Yeah, I'm doing well, mate. I'm so glad that the Boredom International Week is coming to an end and the real football can really begin again. It's been so boring, guys. Honestly, I don't know how you guys feel about it.
Iggy, you're probably looking forward to the next international break. England take on Italy in that one.
Well, I don't know about the looking forward because it's never one that I look forward to. But do you know what? I don't want to think that far ahead. I just want to get the here and now and get back to domestic stuff, the more important stuff. We stopped at such a good moment as well for us. Like, you didn't want to stop now, do you? But there was a time that we used to look forward to international break.
Wasn't that long ago, Iggy? It wasn't that long ago.
No. So here we are again.
I was saying in the studio to Sim, I think it was last week, I was just like, I can't believe I'm not actually looking forward to this international break. I just didn't want it to, because last year under Conte, it was just like, please bring an international break.
You see, this is the beauty of football, how quickly things evolve and turn round. We could be looking forward to the next international break as well. That's how quickly it can all change. So, it's just good to be back with football again, talking about the real stuff for me anyway. Which is what we're about to get into now, hopefully. Yeah.
Well, look, let's get straight into it. Let's start off with our first topic. The squad was announced today, the 25, well, I say 25 man, but with the under 21s, there's so many more. And the two names that probably not a surprise at this point because they're still around, but Eric Dyer and Hugo Lloris have been named in that squad. So the question is, for the first topic of the panel is, should Hugo now be our backup keeper? We'll start off with you on this one, Sonny. How are you feeling about the keeper situation? And do you think Hugo should now be the backup now he's staying?
Well, at the beginning of the summer, I did sort of have question marks over the whole decision because obviously this is a guy who's like our top Premier League appearance maker, club captain, all that sort of stuff. So, and then when we signed this Vicario, obviously it was all up in the air because we wanted David Raya at first. So there was, there's a whole lot of shenanigans to go into it. But fast forward to now, I just wish we obviously gave him the perfect send-off, which he deserved. But I feel like him coming back, it's like seeing your ex in public, isn't it? It's now you've got to sort of be like, but you wanted to leave. You had these choices and decisions that you could have left. He could have gone to Newcastle, Lazio, but he didn't want to be a backup. So the problem is Forster, is he good enough as a backup? Does Lloris want to sit on the bench? I think, Vicario, for starters, has also proved me wrong because I was very suspicious, but he's passing out of the back. I think Hugo could only dream of playing that sort of football out from the back. It's been revolutionary for us as a team, but he's in the squad. I was so surprised to see his name there. I forgot that Eric Dyer is also not a homegrown player. That also shocked me as well. But I feel like backup, that's just so tricky, isn't it? I feel like he's worth having, but we've got so many goalkeepers in that squad. I think there's like 5 goalkeepers if you count some of the youngsters as well. It's just too much. We're going to have fixtures.
You call them youngsters, but they're
not so young anymore. Not so young.
It's just silly, isn't it, at this stage? But I feel like if we could sort of get him a loan move, I feel like that would be more useful. I feel like it's just a waste and a shame to have him sit on the bench. I don't know if he could be a coach or something, but I don't really know if he looks like he's close to retiring. It's just a tricky one, but I just have so much respect for him. But Vicario has definitely, shown that he can be the number one going forward.
Yeah. Iggy, what do you feel about it? Do you think Lloris, now he's here, he should be the backup option?
If you go by logic, it absolutely should be the case because he's far better than Foster. And I don't even want to bring in Austin and Whiteman at this point. But for me, you should be. But do you know what, guys? Like, in my head, I had him gone, and I don't understand why we didn't look into. I don't know if they maybe looked into it or not, but just to rip up his contract and give him the freedom just to go and just say, look, you served us well, do your own thing and carry on. It's given the fact that he had publicly declared that he was, thinking of leaving. We brought in another goalkeeper. We've got 5 in the squad. How do you keep 5 goalkeepers happy with no cup football and there's nothing else for them to? How do you keep them motivated? And it's 3 at the best times.
Playing goalkeeper roulette in every Premier League.
I know, and I just think to myself. Also, I look at the head and I'm thinking the other 4 are really a part of the squad. Lloris is like only here by default. Where's his head at? Where's his motivation at? He made it clear he wanted to leave. I'm still haven't swallowed the fact that he as captain went off at half time. I know he was injured against Newcastle. I'm talking about. I know he was injured and blah blah blah. But I didn't quite fully digest that one. I haven't quite forgotten it. So when you take into into consideration, would I have him there? Listen, for me, he's out of the project. He's not captain anymore. For me, he's out. But if you're talking to me purely from a goalkeeping point of view, then yeah, he should be back up. But I don't know how much. I don't know. I like my team to be fully immersed in the Spurs world. And right now, we've got almost everyone going in the same direction. 1 or 2, which is the 2 that we're talking about right now. Not so much part of the squad moving forward. So I don't know, man. I'm torn with this one, mate. I don't know where you guys are at with it.
Yeah, I mean, so we had a conversation about this before about the Lloris situation. I mean, for you, if Vicario gets injured today,
yeah,
let's not make any sweeping statements here. Exactly,
he should be in the national team. By the way, I'm really annoyed that given Donnarumma's like so many mistakes of late, he should be in the national team. So that's how highly I rate our current goalkeeper.
Wow.
If
he was to get injured, Sim, who takes the jersey for the Sheffield United game?
I think Forster has to, just because I think we were planning without Hugo this season. I think Forster's been integrated into the squad, and he's been told probably from the start of the preseason, you're our number 2, you're our backup keeper. He's done an admirable job. Do I genuinely think Lloris is still better than him? I probably do, to be honest. I still rate Lloris as a better goalkeeper, but I think, and in these kind of scenarios, when you've been planning for life without Lloris, you've got to kind of move on from him. And I only think I would use him in an emergency if Forster picks up an injury, and if we got 2 goalkeepers injured, then I'll draft them in.
But I think Austin was told he was going to be made the number 3.
I don't know if he was. I don't know if we don't know. He was told he was going to be number 3. Did he play? Did he play any minutes in preseason?
No,
I can't remember.
No, nothing.
So I think, yeah. So I think Lloris probably goes to 3rd choice. Forster's our number 2. And but the thing is, it's a weird situation because if you looked at it without context and just you looked at it objectively, all that's happened is he's been demoted to 3rd choice and stripped of the captaincy. That's kind of all that because he hasn't.
That's
moved.
massive too. That is massive, man.
So I don't know what kind of effect that's going to have on him. Albeit he wanted to leave anyway, so whether he's upset he's not captain anymore, probably not because he wanted out, so he probably would have expected not to be captain. But it's going to be a weird situation having a player in the dressing room who would have been the one everyone turned to for a team talk or a motivational speech, and he's going to be there, not getting in the team, not having the responsibility as captain, but. Let's say he does somehow get some game time because of injuries, then it's I don't know how I don't know how, like, from a team point of view, does he like give the team talk before the game? I don't know. It's a really weird situation.
It's a weird one. Yeah, you're right. He's lucky to still have a shirt number. We left him the number 1 jersey, thankfully, because that would have been awkward after 11 years seeing him with a different jersey, like different number on his back. It's just it's not great, guys, because so many conversation would have been had without him there. In the mindset that he was leaving. Now that he's still there, you're like.
Well, he didn't even go on pre-season, did he? Like they literally put in that pre-season statement that he was not going. He's going to explore his future. He had an option for Saudi.
He stayed here. He stayed in England, didn't he?
He's had options. Like he has had options, and he's turned them down because he doesn't want to be second choice. But it's like you have to realise you're not a starting keeper, and he can't even get a move back to his homeland. So
I'm guessing like a lot of it's due to wages.
Probably, but you got to go to Saudi then. like if you want some wages, go to Saudi.
I don't know if it's about wages. I think it's because he wants to play football. And I don't think in any of the moves where he was offered over the summer, you look at which was the move in Italy the Lazio move,
Lazio.
the
He didn't want to be
Newcastle
backup.
move, the Nice move, all these teams he was going to be backup keeper at, even Nice. So I mean, like,
And what's he
you gotta
doing
kind
now?
of know where you're at. Like,
He's
now,
getting that.
obviously now he's still backup, but to stay and be backup and knowing you've just got 1 year left on your contract, you can do whatever you want in a year's time. If he goes to a club and signs a 2-year contract, he's locked in for 2 years and he's got to be a backup there for 2 years. At least now, I mean, maybe he's ingrained in the whole Spurs way of life. He can take on maybe a more of a mentoring role behind the scenes. I don't know. But he has been captain here and so central to us for so many years. I don't think it's going to cause too many problems behind the scenes, because I think he knew the situation of what was going to happen, even if he was to stay. He's the one that said he wanted to leave. He wanted to look for a new challenge and all this kind of stuff. So I still think people behind the scenes would look up to him because of what he's given Tottenham and what he's given the game as well.
It's a tough one because I don't think the issues between him and Vicario. I think that's pretty much cemented. For me, it's the fact, like we were saying earlier, he's got 5 goalkeepers there. It was already tough with 4. Imagine if us 4 are in this group as goalkeepers. All of a sudden, the ex-club captain, who we thought was shipping out, he's joining that party. You're like, oh my god, when am I going to play here? As if Vicario wasn't bad enough. Now I've got Lloris as well. So it's just weird. It's just such a weird set, because I don't know a squad, honestly, that have got 5 goalkeepers in the first squad setup. I don't know. Name me another squad in world football right now that's got 5 goalkeepers in the first squad. Mate, we're about to use them as homegrown and to use them as all sorts. I don't know, man. It's just such a bizarre situation to be in, but and such a limited amount of game time for each of them to even try and get. So I don't know. It's just I hope, not so much from a playing point of view, but what we don't see, like the background stuff and then behind the scenes, I hope that doesn't cause an issue amongst the group, because that's the last thing we need right now in the moment that we're in.
Do you know what's weird though? Like, because there was talk about, of which has happened, a rebuild of this whole leadership group. But when you think about it, only Kane has left. Dyer, Højbjerg, and Lloris are still here, all from the leadership group. And they've just been basically stripped of their leadership roles, and it's been given to Maddison, Son, and Romero. So I think we probably expected them all to leave, to be honest, and they're all still here now. I just wonder what kind of dynamic that's going to have.
That's my concern, Sim. That's my concern.
I think that hurts the other two more than Lloris, to be honest. Because I think Lloris knew, he knows he's at the end of his career. He knows that he wanted to move on, and he knew that a whole new structure had to come in at Tottenham. I think Højbjerg probably thought that he's still like a big guy at Tottenham. Dyer probably is completely deluded anyway, thinking that he should be one of our first starting centre-backs. So I actually think like those two is more of a worry than the Lloris situation.
Although Højbjerg has featured.
Go on. Sorry.
Højbjerg has featured, doesn't he? So when he's come on, he's been all right. But the problem is, you probably look back to Fulham, he's still not good enough to start, and he has been, Basuma has come in and replaced him. And as for Dyer, I was actually shocked to see his name in the list, because I thought, after all that's happened and like trying to push for a move, and literally Ashley Phillips has been promoted, so that's a lot of pressure on his shoulders. I thought that's it for Dyer, but no, it's just a confusing situation, and it goes back to maybe this summer. Even though I thought we had a quite good window, we didn't shift enough deadwood. We really didn't do it enough, and I don't know if that's Levy's fault. He doesn't want us, we loan out Ndombele for a 3rd season. It's getting a bit silly. You got to realise we're not getting anywhere near that money back. It's what you were saying earlier, wages, contracts. It's just, we've been a bit mugged off in the past and been a bit fools. And we've probably, now the way we're going forward, I bet I feel like we've gone full circle. We've gone back to Pochettino of trying to settle down, get the wage bill down and all that sort of stuff. And I, as I said earlier, I was just surprised at the homegrown. It is just, considering it's a rule that we need it, and how many players, and 2 of them were goalkeepers. I was just like, there are still a few issues that we need to resolve in the next couple of seasons at least.
Yeah, in terms of the leadership group, and my point wasn't again necessarily just about Lloris. It's just about how will that affect the squad, still having the whole leadership group essentially in the team, in the squad, but they're not the leadership group anymore, and they've just been ousted essentially, and they're still here. And I haven't really thought about that, because I expected Dyer, Lloris, and Højbjerg all to leave, and now they're all here. And essentially the leadership, like, are they going to kind of like form a clique and like the anti-leadership group? Like, I wonder how it's going to play out. Like, because they've probably been so used to having like not control, but with the responsibility and having a big say in the dressing room. And now none of them are starters. None of them are looked up to probably in the same way because we've moved on from that leadership group, but they're still around. So I wonder if there's any possibility of like some sort of negative energy coming from that situation.
100% there will be. 100%.
You know what? It's a bit similar to the start of the Pochettino era where they had that clique of players that were there causing problems. I mean, you had, what was it? Adebayor, Lennon, Kabul, like the kind of old guard that were there that kind of thought
and he
they
said
were
it
like
caused
high
a
in
problem.
stature of the group.
Yeah, he said it caused a problem. Yeah.
I don't see an issue this moment. You will, though, 100% now that the squad has been announced, everything's been trimmed down, the market is closed, the games are going to start flowing, but once a week, no cups. All of a sudden, your game time has been limited to virtually zero. So far, Dyer, Lloris, now they've not played any minutes, hardly anything. So at what point do they start thinking, all right, we need to cause havoc here? It's just a natural, because you're thinking you're being ostracized. All of a sudden you've had all this power, and can you believe these guys have outlived Kane at Spurs? Like, that's another, like, these guys. I thought Kane would be the last one to leave of this lot, but here we are talking about Dyer. But yeah, at which point do you think, right, I'm getting overlooked. I couldn't get a move. I'm not part of the clique. I'm not captain. I'm not this. I'm not that. I'm not. It's like a series of a TV where four of us here were main characters, and now the second series has started. We're now extras. We're not extras. In like, and you've seen these other four main actors taking the roles, and we're just there watching, just walking past, behind the main character.
They couldn't even write you out the show. They've just given you a one line.
Didn't even kill you. You'd rather be killed off.
If it has this happen, how can you not feel resentment between now and January? I think that's going to build up. That's my worry.
Yeah, it's a bit. I when are we going to get
the dog agrees.
When are we going to get those reflective reports saying, some sources within the dressing room are saying the training is repetitive, the probably doesn't work them too hard. You always get them, those bloody leaks from the Athletic all the time whenever something's going wrong. But I hope it doesn't have a negative situation. I really hope the players understand that we need to rebuild and we need to move on from them. And even though I think maybe something like Højbjerg could still have a part to play in this rebuild.
Yeah,
I hope they understand that they're not being ousted because of themselves necessarily. It's more to do with a need for a change in philosophy and a change of how we're doing things. And maybe they've got to realize that them being the leaders as well maybe wasn't good for the team, because nothing really came of it as part of the leadership group. So I hope they see it in that way, but I don't know. I think when you're at that level and you're a top professional and you have an ego essentially, and then you've been given even more of an ego because you've been named part of the leadership group, you've been named as one of the leaders in the team. Like, to be stripped of that and then to now be in the squad, and you're now, Romero's the one who's been there a lot less time than you, and he's the one now seen as leader. And Maddison has just came. He's been here a few months.
Captain on his debut.
And he's already part of the leadership group. So I just do wonder. There's nothing really to suggest there will be a negative, but I guess there is something to explore there.
Yeah, I guess we're just going to have to wait and see how it unfolds throughout the season. But look, let's move on to our next topic regarding the man Harry Kane. And there was been a lot of comments throughout the week, seeing as Harry Kane was mentioning Spurs in one of his interviews with The Independent whilst he was on international duty. A lot of Spurs fans did feel that Harry Kane disrespected Spurs with those comments. So I'll just quickly read them out to you, the snippet that people have been up in arms about. But it goes: "It's definitely a different pressure compared to what it felt at Spurs. Of course, we wanted to win things at Spurs, but if you went a couple of games without winning, it wasn't a disaster. The feeling at Bayern is that you have to win every game. We won the first two games 4-0 and 3-1, and there's still people not too happy about the way we played. That's part and parcel about being one of the biggest clubs in the world. We've had a good start, and I'm enjoying those different emotions, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to go. And we start the Champions League campaign when we get back. which they expect to win or have a good chance of winning. So you're going to get those games with maybe a different feeling to what I had in the past. So, Sonny, do you think that is Harry Kane disrespecting Spurs, or are Spurs fans just getting a bit too touchy-feely about the whole situation?
I mean, I don't want to, rustle a few feathers here, but he's not wrong.
Russell feathers, man. Russell them.
I mean,
Russell them. We like rustling feathers.
Okay, I'm going to kick off now. I feel like he's not wrong. Bayern Munich is a whole level above Tottenham. Like, they aspire to be Champions League, getting to the final, winning it year in, year out. They've got a big chance this year. Thomas Tuchel, full season. They've signed, Kim Min-jae, a lot of good players there now. They've shifted some of their deadwood as well. And then they've paid a lot for Harry Kane. So there is a lot of pressure. He's obviously turned up. He's one of the new guys. He's not going to come in and he wants to make a good impression on the fans as well. He's going to come in and say, I know it's good pressure, but I'm willing to face the pressure. Is he disrespecting Tottenham though? I'm a bit on the fence about this because obviously, I don't know if you guys saw today, Bale at the golf, and he was saying how good, Tottenham, and talking about Brennan Johnson, and says about, dig at Arsenal, and we all love it because it's a little bit of a tidbit there. But then when we have this, it does, put a cat amongst the pigeons because we're all very defensive. Football's very tribal. We're going to defend our club till the cows come home. And I just feel like it did at first. I was a bit like, okay, you shouldn't have really mentioned us, because what it then did was it lit a bit of a fire of people going, well, you didn't turn up for us in this final. You didn't turn up in this semi. You didn't score here. You weren't involved in it. And that's the bit where I'm like, I feel like people go a bit too far. I feel like when you're digging him out, I feel like, he's record goal scorer. He's amazing. He has done so much for this club, and we let him leave in the end because we had to cash in on him. We had to. We couldn't let him go on a free next year. But at first, I took it with a bit of pinch of salt, and then I'm just like, you do you, mate. Hopefully United knock them out of the group stages, and we maybe go in for a run in the FA Cup, and we don't have to worry about those quotes.
He's going to score a hat-trick next week. It's fine.
Yeah, he will. Now I've said that. I'll put the curse. Just put it down there.
But Iggy, I got a feeling you got quite a bit to say on this one. So what are you thinking about the Kane thing?
Listen, the guy spoke truth. Let's be honest. We all think exactly the same thing on this. I failed to understand why people would be touchy about this subject. The only thing I will say for Kane in regards to the mentality and this, how he's gone to buy. First of all, there's two clubs with two different. Like Bayern Munich has a massive expectation. They've got to compete to win domestic. That alone is a failure if they're not to do so. They have to absolutely be in that top four in regard to Champions League. They have to at least make the quarter semi-final. Anything outside of that is failure. So already that mindset, that mentality within the store of the club, something that we badly miss at our club, is already there. So he's gotten into that, seeing that and thinking, wow, they don't mess about it. 3-1 and 4-0, and they're still moaning. All right, that is not. Obviously, he's come from a different mindset at Spurs. What I will say to Harry Kane is,
sorry, Iggy, but he saw us win 1-0 3 times in a row under Nuno, and all the fans would be like, "Oh, come on, Nuno, ball is here."
But we're losing 4-1 and 3-1.
What I will say about Kane is, this mentality that we've had at Spain, he's been part of it for the last 10, 11 years. So we don't know how much he's done to change that. We don't know what's happened behind the scenes. But obviously, he's made it clear all along he wants to win trophies. So his mindset has always been one that he wants to succeed. He wants to win trophies. And he would have loved to have done that at Spurs. That part, I honestly believe that. I don't know how everyone else feels about it, but I've always felt that he's wanted to win at Spurs. And he's tried to stay as long as he can. He's bought into promises which were then broken. So I get that there's maybe an element of little dig and bitterness about it. Probably bitter is more than the fact he wasn't able to achieve. So going into a new setup with what Bayern Munich have got going on, I get it, man. I get it. And I don't feel that he's said anything that's hurting us. But why he's saying it right now? Maybe because we're doing a little bit too well without him. And he's like, there's going to be an element of that. There will be. I don't care what anyone says. There will be an element. How these guys doing so well without me? I was expecting him to struggle a bit more. He might have gone easy with his wording this time around. But look, in the grand scheme of things, context-wise, he didn't say anything that wasn't true. It has to be said.
But did he really have to say like it's not?
It wasn't necessary, but
did he really have to say like it's not a disaster if Spurs don't win a couple of games? Did he really have to say
is
that?
it's not a disaster if we don't win a trophy for 23 years. It's not a disaster, you know. It's a disaster if we don't make top four, though. You know, it's just all the things that gets me and probably gets you as well. Like, you want to change that mentality of this club, and you know, and when other people say it, you agree with it, but it still hurts, man. It still hurts, and that's the part that gets me. That what he said is true, but it doesn't make it less. Oh yeah, it's the truth. But I'm all right with it. No, I'm not all right with it. I want to change that, but of course, we're at the mercy of other people, and let's not open that one up, man. I mean, I just gonna stop right there.
Keep that can of worms right in that can.
Yeah, I'll keep that there, man.
Do you think that Iggy though? Do you think there is that kind of a little bit of that element of Kane's thinking, looking over at what Tottenham are doing now, thinking, you know what? If I was in that team, we could do big things.
I think if we hadn't gone through Jose and then Conte and then Bruno and we'd done it a little bit sooner, maybe this after Pochettino had gone, you would have felt there was a continuation at the very least. Someone new, someone dynamic, but with the same ideology of principle of the way we should be playing football. Maybe, but we went vroom to this style of football, vroom to that one, and then we was going to back him, then we didn't. Then with promises, then defensive style football, attacking football. It was just too much. And then, you know, all of this whilst Kane is getting older. And he's thinking, man, I'm in my 30s now. This ain't happening, is it? He was brought in after Nuno. He was, you know, down tools. Then Conte, he changed his mind. Then Mourinho had got something, and you're thinking yourself, right, yes, it's gonna happen. And we all felt like that. We all was in that same boat. And then when they all left, you're like, man, this ain't. We all said it. Man, this ain't gonna happen for us, is it? It's not actually gonna. And he's like, I want to win. I'm running out of time here. And Bayern Munich, there's no way. I always thought he would go Real Madrid, Barcelona, someone like that. I never ever thought Bayern Munich would be that club. But when you look at it, like, he needs guaranteed, and you know, how much has he upped his percentage of winning trophies this year? Massively, when you think about it. So I think he'll do a couple of years there, and he'll come back in the Premier League. Whether it be at Spurs, I don't know. I'm even doubting he'll come back at Spurs, but I do believe he'll come back in the Premier League though to beat that record.
Yeah, I think so as well. But it's like, it still doesn't sit right with me that he's playing for Bayern Munich of all clubs. Like, why go out to Germany? I just don't get it. I still don't get it. But anyway, that's another day, another topic for another day. But Sim, what are you feeling about this situation? Do you think he disrespected Spurs at all?
I don't think he necessarily disrespected Spurs, but what I would say is, I did feel like he didn't have to say it in the way he said it, in terms of, in Tottenham you can lose 2 games in a row and it's not the end of the world. He could have just said, look, Bayern the pressures to win every game, and at Spurs the pressure's a little different. He could have just been quite vague about it. He didn't have to be quite as specific. But at the end of the day, I did feel like there was a bit of maybe like how we left Spurs. Obviously, the whole thing about the Man City and the gentleman's agreement, and then going on to, we had Conte. He probably liked Conte, but again, we never really challenged for anything big under Conte. We just sneaked into top 4, and then it all fell apart again. He probably just felt a bit fed up with the whole situation, considering off the back of that, you know, under Jose, he got the Golden Boot and the best and the most assists in the season. Under Conte, in the second half of that season, I think he got like 15 goals or something, and then he got 30 goals last season. So, but by and large, he's been maintaining his standards. And for him, I always felt like for him, when you looked at like shots of after big losses or after losses in general, I feel like you saw in his face how much it hurt him and how disappointed he was after games. Whereas I didn't always feel like that with the other players. And I definitely as well, when you saw a bit behind the curtain in the documentary, I think like you saw there were elements where we would have a defeat, and like Kane would be the one showing a lot more frustration. He'll be the one in the day after in the training saying, look, we have to do a lot better. This is unacceptable. But like, I didn't feel like this. It was the same vibe from a lot of the players, that they saw it as bad as it was. Whereas Kane, I always felt like was a lot more frustrated. So I understand where people point to the fact where they say, well, look, if that was the culture, you were part of the leadership team, so it's on. It's part of your responsibility was to change that, and that's a fair comment. But at the end of the day, he's maintained his standards. At the end of the day, he was scoring 25, 30 goals season in, season out, and he was the best striker in the league for every single season. Not everyone can say that. A lot of other players had a lot of inconsistent form. They didn't really show the consistency that Harry Kane did. So I think he did everything he can. I don't think you could say Kane could have done more, really, in terms of his time at Tottenham. And even when you go back to that overlap interview you did with Harry Kane, with Gary Neville, he was saying, like, everyone points to the fact that he said, oh yeah, he wants to win trophies and stuff like that. But he also said, if we're not going to win trophies, the next target would be got to be secure in Champions League by April, May time, and you've got that's a sign of a good season. And at the end of the day, in his last 3 seasons, we finished 7th, 6th, and 8th in 3 of his last 4 seasons. So I like, and he was banging in the goals every year. So I can understand his frustration. I can understand it spilled over a bit. It's not nice to hear, and maybe he could have put things a different way. But at the end of the day, the truth hurts sometimes, and I think that's just an example of that.
Sim, I want to add a little bit to what you're saying. I agree. I will add this. Like, I don't feel he was digging out the fans, man. I feel like he loves Spurs, and he loved it. I think that was evident for me anyway. I always perceived it like he loved the fans and us. I think for me it was more to do having a little dig at somebody in the board. Is getting a few,
100% is the
a few stones. When he left Spurs, a few stones were still in his shoes. For example, he wasn't allowed at Hotspur away to go and get his things out of the locker that were sent to his house. I don't know how many people know this. He wasn't allowed to say his goodbyes to his teammates. His family were not allowed to enter the premises anymore. This is all because he was, everything. Once the deal was happening to Bayern Munich, they cut him off. That came from above at Spurs. Many people know this. When you feel like you leave, and then when he arrives at Spurs, he hugs Tuchel finally, as if to say, like, it's over. Like, I think it was more to do with the relationship, that how it become towards the end with him and the powers that be. I don't think it's got anything to do with the fans. I think we always treated him well. He always treated us well. Bar the whole Nuno, and then his return to Wolverhampton, and then there was a bit weird then, but that quickly, turned into like cheers again after he started scoring goals. So for me, I don't think the issues with the fans. I get why the fans or section and fan wider would feel that way, but I think it was definitely to do with the way he departed Spurs and how it went about, and we know who's digging out. So I wouldn't worry too much about it, man.
Iggy,
I hope to see him back at Spurs, obviously.
When you mention the name Tottenham, the fans are always going to put themselves in that. You know what I mean? So I kind of understand the fans to a certain extent, the ones that are.
He wasn't going to come out with a name, though, would he, Ben? He wasn't going to come out with a name, was he?
Obviously. And I think, like, if he is going to say something, that's the way to say it. But and the way he was treated, like you're saying, at the end of his time at Tottenham, not being let in the training ground, not being able to go to his box to get his stuff and all that kind of stuff. Bad. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. How do you treat a club legend like that? Instead of building him a statue, which they should do outside the ground for being our top record.
He said as well. He said that, didn't he, at that speech at that university a couple of months ago? We'll build him a statue, and then it's like,
yeah. And now you're not letting him in the training ground get your stuff. Like, come on, man.
They did the same with Pochettino, didn't they? If I remember rightly.
Yeah, they did.
He had to write that message on the team tactics board to say goodbye to the players that had been in charge of for such a long time. And I'm sure that stuff doesn't sit right with him as well. And we know he's had his problems with Daniel Levy in the past because of the gentleman's agreement.
Who hasn't?
So, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Who hasn't?
Yeah, but I don't think he disrespected Spurs. I wouldn't go that far. I don't think there was that kind of comment that was like disrespectful. I think he has respect for Tottenham, 100%. And I just think he was just outlining the reality of the situation. He was asked a direct question: what's the difference in the pressures between where you are now and where you were before and where you are now? And he laid it out very simply. And there's nothing wrong with that.
And the problem is, like, we saw, didn't we? Like,
Harry. Go on, sorry, Sonny.
No, that's all right. And then we saw, like, towards on the day before, he was literally, there was reports coming out of Sky, he is keen to staying. But it was sort of like, not like Levy had set him up a little bit as if to say, like, I'm going to make you the villain. I'm going to make it look like you've pushed the move. I'm going to, hold you at the airport until we've got each like little penny out of Bayern. And it was that sort of like manipulative energy from Levy to sort of be like, I want to show the fans that, we had to sell him. Like, we were going to lose him next year. He didn't want to sign a new deal. And it's like, you've held this guy prisoner for many years, and he has given a lot to us. But yeah, I think using the term like some of the terms, and also I think he is a good media person. So when he is saying certain language like this, it almost is a bit like, well, it does feel a bit more of a dig, because he is usually quite a good person when you see him like for England or represent any clubs in the media.
Very professional, yeah. 100%. And like, I don't who does Levy, who does he think he's fooling, like trying to play these games saying, oh, it's all
over again. This is the same games we've been seeing. Modric, Bale had to go on strike. I mean, come on, man. This is like a non-going.
He called flight control as soon as Kane was about to take off. He's like, turn the plane around.
You know what I mean?
You really think Harry Kane didn't want to stay here for the rest of his career and flourish and win trophies and do all this stuff? There was only one man and one section of this club holding that back, and that was Daniel Levy in the hierarchy. And if Spurs went in the right direction after Pochettino left, or even after Jose left, if we went in the right direction in those moments in time, Harry Kane would still be here right now, and he wouldn't have had to have gone. And that's the facts of the matter.
Preach.
Anyway, let's move on to the next topic. And this one's a bit more positive, so let's get straight into it. And go on, get into
it.
Go on, I would say, sorry, got one there. Oh, where has he gone? I've lost it now. Oh, here it is. Jory just saying Spurs' lack of self-respect is evident. Kane is just stating facts. Big up all.
Big up, Jory.
Big up, Jory.
So we had a certain Leo Messi talking about one of our players this week in Cuti Romero. And the quote was, Cuti Romero is the best centre-back in the world. And so that's what we're here to discuss today. Is Cuti Romero the best centre-back in the world? I mean, who are we to judge with, to argue with Leo Messi, right?
Either you're disagreeing with Messi or he's the best in the world.
Exactly. Exactly. But Sonny, what do you reckon? Where does Cuti Romero rank in the best centre-backs in the world?
I just like how I think some United fans are also upset because Martinez got overlooked, and that isn't a hype pun either. But, I mean, Romero has shown this season the player that is within him. Like, obviously last season he was rash. He's still, I think he is a bit old school with his tackling technique. We saw, I think it was against Enna Valencia, this international break. It was a proper cruncher, and he's just like in his face. I just like his vibe. And, I think maybe him being given one of the vice captains is sort of like, and saying like, there's a good defender in you, there's a good player. You just, we just need to coach how to be aggressive and how to come out from the back. And I think, there's players that have helped him develop his game, like Basuma dropping between the centre backs means that he hasn't got to rush out all the time. And Mickey van der Ven, them two, the partnership, I am so impressed how they've already started. They complement each other greatly. They're both good at passing the ball. So, yeah, I mean, I probably have to agree with Messi on this one. Obviously people will argue the likes of like, Van Dijk, but then he's obviously had a little dip. And, there's the names that always come up, and like the City centre-backs are probably some of the top. And Saliba, I know a few Arsenal fans got really upset over these comments, but I'd say they're similar sort of players,
They get upset about everything. Don't worry about them.
They're special kind, that lot. Don't worry about them.
Honestly. But I feel like, that he's got those leadership qualities and attributes to literally be in good stead for a good few years. I feel, we knew when we signed him, he was Serie A Defender of the Year. And that league is infamous for defensive football and having solid names and people at the back. So, yeah, got to agree with Messi. He's a World Cup winner as well. He kept so many people out of the team. And, yeah, he is the GOAT.
Sonny, not only is a World Cup winner, but he was so central to winning that World Cup with Argentina last year. And you got to say, I was actually thinking about this before, like, I think he was actually probably the top performing centre-back at the World Cup in December. So if he's the top performing centre-back for a World Cup winning team at a World Cup, does that make him the best in the world, Iggy?
It's so hard to disagree with Leo. How can you not take what he says? But look, for me, if you remember, guys, he went into that World Cup injured. He was injured at the start of it, and he grew. The more the games were going, and obviously the further Argentina were getting, he started to become more and more and more and more important for that. They're winning. And he had a good centre back next to him in that World Cup. What's happening in this team right now is he's finally got a decent centre back playing next to him. He's not playing with Davis. He's not playing with Emerson. He's not playing with Dyer. He's now playing with Van der Ven, Porro, and Udogie. Man, that's like night and day. It's like you can be however good you want, but it's when you're involved in the team game, you're as good as the players that you have around you. And that's what's happened. And what's happened now, the added responsibility being in the captaincy circle has now reassured him that he is not just part of the team now, he is the part of the team moving forward. So he's got that admiration from the manager, that confidence, that support from the manager that he believes in him, and he is central to our defence moving forward. He's part of that group. Then you've got to think he's got the side man next to him. He's come the confidence that you gain from winning a World Cup. You return to your club, so you're more assertive, you're more assured, and the calmness he now has because of all of this. He's now got a different look about him. He's still got. You're right, Sonny. He's still got that. Ain't gonna change. But what he has is added stuff that he didn't have before. He didn't have the. Last season, for example, I mean, everybody was poor. Kane apart, everybody was poor. But he didn't have the serenity. He didn't have the calmness about him. We was under turmoil. So when it's caused them, when you're in that kind of pressure and you're playing on, let's have it right, he's playing with rubbish players alongside him. You're going to get angry a lot quicker, lots more snapping, more rash. This is a different Romero. He's coming. What I can say, because you brought up Atalanta, Player of the Year, he was playing in a really good team. Good setup, been together for a few years. Now, I think this year onwards, you can really start evaluating Romero and appreciate him here on moving forward. And I think this is a different kind of animal. And I hope, because I believe he hasn't even picked up a yellow card yet. I don't want to mess it up.
Wow, never mind.
Do you see what I mean? Wow. So, come on, man. Like neither of them. I don't think neither defender have picked up. So
neither of them made a foul.
I'll probably jinx him now for the Sheffield United game, going into the Arsenal game. But you know, when you think of the mindset where these players are at, he's got more into his locker, and we're going to see an even better player. So Messi, I don't think he's there right this moment, but I think he's in that trajectory, man. If he keeps doing what he's doing, I think he's got everything to become one of the best in the world, for sure.
So you're telling Messi he's wrong about football?
I think Messi may be over-exaggerated his opinion, but I think it's a valid opinion nonetheless. Lord, everyone help Messi. He can do no wrong. Don't worry.
Iggy thinks he knows more than Messi about football. That's the title of the video.
Ronaldo away.
Sim, never mind in the world. Where do you think he ranks in terms of Premier League centre-backs?
I think highly, man. I really do, and I think
top five,
probably top five. Yeah, I would say so. Who else is better than him?
Who are the five? Do you reckon?
I think Saliba's in there. Unfortunately, I would say Van Dijk's still there. I think Ruben Diaz obviously is there. I think John Stones is probably there.
Varane.
But apart from that, Varane. I don't know about Varane at the moment. I haven't been since he's come to United. He hasn't been that great.
Martinez, would you not put Martinez in there?
I had a Romero.
No, in that top 5, 6.
No, I had a
Thiago Silva, maybe.
I don't know. I think Martinez is a bit below the ones that we've mentioned.
I think Romero, and look, Thiago Silva, maybe 2 years ago, I was still picking, but 39. I know he's still good, but I don't think he's as good as Romero is now. When it comes to being like a aggressive, like
Gavardio, someone saying
proactive,
Gavardio, Akanji?
Yeah, I think he's better than Akanji, but I reckon Gavardio might be better than him. But we'll have to wait. I think I really rate Gavardio. Big fan of his. When it comes to like proactive defenders who really like to anticipate tackles and really be really aggressive in challenges, play on the front foot, I'm thinking those type of defenders, like apart from maybe Martinez, Gavardio, I don't think of too many who are better than Romero right now in the Premier League. And that's really encouraging. And that's why I think we're seeing such a better Romero this season. It's not just because he's playing with better players, which he is. And it's not just because he's been given that responsibility. But I think the structure of the team allows him to be more front-footed, more proactive in his defending. Whereas under Conte, constantly sitting deep, having to be reacting in his defend, being reactionary in his defending, defend a lot of crosses as well. I don't think that's his forte. I think he's an okay penalty box defender, but I think he likes defending outside of the penalty box more than he likes defending inside. Yeah, I think he likes to anticipate things. He likes nicking the ball when a fast pass is played into the striker's feet. He likes to nick the tackle and win the ball and put. Not only that, but he likes to get the team on the front foot as well with his defending. And what I like about him is something I always pointed out with Toby Alderweireld, which is when he makes a clearance or a tackle, he doesn't just boot it out of play like nowhere. A lot of the time, he's always looking for a teammate and to aim his tackles and to aim his clearances at. And he's very, very good at that. And having players around him, like we do in our possession-based system, is only going to benefit him to pick out those options more easily. Whereas I feel like under Conte, we were so deep. Whenever we would boot it clear, there was no Tottenham players around, and he would always give away possession. And I feel like it's definitely to his benefit. I think he's so good at playing line-breaking passes from defence as well. And I think the system we play now is, again, only going to benefit him there as well. Whereas I felt like under Conte, he's playing a very quick, direct pass in a transition. There wasn't really many options. The possession game wasn't really there. Or maybe he's playing out wide to a fullback. It wasn't really to his benefit. So I think we're definitely not catering to him, but it will be to his benefit, all these different changes. And I think when he's playing well, the only thing that makes me think like he isn't the best in the world is because we've seen him do these rash moments where he gets a stupid red card, like against AC Milan, or he like gives away a stupid penalty, like he did against Liverpool last season. Like he has these rash moments, but when he's at his top of his game, when he's performing really, really well, like when he's playing well, there are very few, if any, centre backs in the league who are better than him when he's playing well. Like he's that good. I rate him so highly when he's being proactive and he's winning the ball high up the pitch and he's setting up on counter attacks and he's playing little chipped passes over the top and through balls and stuff like that. He's world class. He really is. The now question is to do it consistently over a season, like we've seen Van Dijk do it, like we've seen some of the top defenders, like even Saliba last season, we saw him do it. So if he can let me say this, if he's performed the way he's performed in the first 4 games, if he can keep this, like, let's say he performs 30 games like that he's done this season, I think there's a case for him to be the best in the league. I really believe that if he's performed like this. The question for me is consistency. He needs to be able to show that responsibility and consistency that he can perform like this over a whole season, because we just haven't seen that yet. But I think when he's good, he's unbelievable.
And be injury-free as well.
I think that's a big thing as well, injuries. And I was thinking about this before, like, if Romero was in the Man City team, I think people would be speaking about him so differently to the way they're speaking about him now, because I think he's the perfect defender for the way Man City like to play, on the front foot, adding to the attacks, anticipating teams' attacks and stuff like that, and getting in front of the attackers. So I think, like, if he was at Man City, people would be speaking about him in a completely different light. But I would also say, like, it's very similar to the Jan Vertonghen story, where under AVB, you know, he wasn't that good. People knew he was a good defender, but we saw flaws in his game. We saw a bad mentality. We saw, him leaning on the side at Anfield and stuff like that, which people didn't like. And then as soon as you got a good partner in Toby Alderweireld next to him, you saw the real Jan Vertonghen come through, and he was part of a 2-year period where Spurs had the best defense in the league. So I think, like, Romero can be like that, where we all said time and time again, get a good partner next to him, you'll see the real Romero. And I think we've seen the real Romero in these first 4 games. But I think, as my brother said, the key now is consistency and staying injury free, as Sonny said.
Everything is there now for him to take his level to the next and even better level. Everything is now there. Everything that he has now was completely missing from the previous. That's why we didn't see. And I think the biggest part is that tranquility and that serenity that he has within himself now to make the better choices, the better passes, as Sim was saying, the better option. And also, he's very central to everything that we're doing on and off the field. You cannot make things better for a player of a valid importance, which is what Romero has been brought in to do to our defence post Vertonghen and post Toby. So everything's there now, and I think honestly, I see him going to the next level if he can stay injury free, and also look, he will make the rash decision every now and again, but it will be way more less frequent. But also at the same time, by going to that next level, we'll have all the big teams sniffing around him, Real Madrid, they'll all be there. But you know what? That's part of the parcel. So, but let's hope, fingers crossed. And that picture that I saw recently online with that guy stamping on his ankle, that scared me to death. I thought, no, please, no, not now. But I'm glad it's hopefully nothing more than it was just a silly challenge.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's Cuti Romero. Let's go on to the last topic of the update, and it's surrounding our main man at left back, Destiny Udogie. And the question is Udogie better than prime Danny Rose? Obviously, we saw prime Danny Rose.
Proper hot takes, isn't it? This is
yeah, he's naughty.
Obviously, Danny Rose, I mean, the longevity wasn't really there with Rosie. I mean, he's still at an age where, you'd think if his career went another way, he'd still be playing Premier League football. But I think those 2 years we had under Rose was special from left back. Destiny Udogie, the first 4 games have been absolutely world class. I don't think he's put a foot wrong in these first 4 games. But Sonny, do you think that he is already or can be better than prime Danny Rose?
I mean, Danny Rose started well by scoring that goal against Arsenal, so I feel like that set him on a good pathway. So hopefully, in the North London derby, if he pops up with a little goal, that would be.
He did
fantastic.
get hauled off at half time, though.
True, but the thing is with Udogie, which I've really enjoyed, it's just he is already one of those players where I think there's about 4 or 5 where it's like, if he gets injured now, we're like buggered in that position, like because he is so key to what we do, and like. Especially against Bournemouth, the assist he got where he's like busting the gut on that byline to get that ball in. And it's just like, it's just a breath of fresh air. And considering in that position, it's been a bit of a problem area since Rose left. We have obviously had Ben Davis, we've had Sergi Reguilon didn't work out, Ryan Sessegnon. It's good to finally realise we had a solution, but we loaned him back to Udinese last year. So, and obviously I think he finished Serie A fullback of the year. We seem to always pick up.
Yeah, he was up there.
Don Paratici, he's working some magic from his prison cell. Honestly, he's done us quite well. But I just think
leave his cupboard room. Yeah,
but to compare him to Prime Rose, that is tricky because what I think made Rose good was his partnership with Walker or Trippier after that. So I feel like we'd probably have to judge them with that. But I'd say Pedro Porro has improved his game as well since the season. We watched the first half against United and a few people were questioning him, but he grew into the game. He hit the crossbar as well. So I feel like when we judge them, we have to judge them as a partnership. So changing the question, are they as good as Rose and Walker? So not yet.
Porro better than Prime Walker, is that what we're saying?
I feel like we need to get back up to that. We're mentioning how good our defence was under Pochettino in those 2 seasons. That's where we need to get. We need to get back to having a tighter defence. And I feel like this current back four we have, a lot of people question this defence coming into the season. Like, I know maybe we're a few injuries away from disaster, but when they're all fit and they're all ticking, it's looking quite good. And I feel like Tottenham have come full circle, really, with Postecoglou from the Pochettino. There's so many comparisons where people like comparing Basuma to Dembele, and it is quite a good...
Basuma's better than Prime.
Oh, right,
we're getting all the debates out there.
That's the big... But no, I think Udogie's great, and I feel like he wasn't called up to the Italy squad as well. So
no, he came back. He had a fever or flu or wasn't well. Oh, okay. I think he was sent back home, but he was in the under-21 setup. Okay. He was called up.
He's good. He's a great player. He is gonna set the league alight this season.
Yeah, Iggy, you probably knew more about Destiny than most because you obviously follow the Italian league Serie A quite closely. I mean, if he was going to take Did you have a feeling that he would have taken?
He was doing well, man. He was doing well at Udinese. He was in a good setup there. He was playing week in, week out. He was being used as a wing back, so I wasn't sure how it would work out. Obviously, he was going to come back here under the guidance of Conte, who played with wing backs. Ain't it irony? It's so us to play with wing backs with fullbacks, and now that we've got the wing backs, we're playing fullbacks. So, but do you know what? What I will say this: I think Destiny, if he carries on. If he goes through this season in growing and similar sort of discussion we've been having about Romero, if he goes to take his game to another level, I think he'll be, if we make the Euros, hopefully, he'll be in that Italy squad, and I think he'll be pushing for starting lineup if he carries on playing first team football here at Spurs. But what I can tell you guys, is he going to be better than Rose? Is Porro going to be better than Walker? It's what I don't know, guys, but what I can tell you right now, it's the most excited I've been about our fullbacks, about our centre backs, to the closest thing. Like, I felt this a little bit exciting. I know it's only the start of 4 games. We shouldn't put all the weight in the world on these young. I mean, especially Udogie's like young, really young. But it's the most excited I've been about a fullback, somebody like that, and our mindset is always to go and do the damage on the opposite side of the pitch, and that's that. I'm more happy about the journey that these guys are taking, and I'll be happy to ride it out with them when they go through a little dip and so forth. But I know what each of those players on their day they can bring, and so far with Udogie, given he's such a young player, what I didn't expect, guys, this I will tell you, I didn't pick up on it on the Serie A when I was watching him in Italy, is how good. I always knew he was good going forwards, but how attentive he is in his defensive side of it. He's showing really great maturity in such a young age, and now I was surprised. I thought he would show signs of perhaps struggling in transitioning from one league to another, but he's taken the Premier League like boom, like he's on there, and he's submerged himself in the Spurs world really quickly. And that is credit to the group, to the journey that we're kind of taking, and the manager, man. You have to give him his props, because if he's made everyone feel comfortable and him drilling everyone for 2 months in the way that he wants them to play football, and these guys saying, yeah, do you know what, we're going to do it, and they're executing everything that's been asked of them. Credit to them. But the journey's long, man. Prime Rose. Listen, let's start by scoring a banger against Arsenal. Then he's in the right. Then he really is in the right trajectory. So.
I guarantee you, Iggy, by mid of this season or towards the end of this season, he's going to be universally accepted as the best left back in this football league, in this Premier League. Name me a left back that's going to be better than him.
Number 38, Udogie, on your back, son. If that once that happens, then we have to go and get his shirt.
What left back in the Premier League is going to be better than
exciting? It's exciting because he, like I said, a lot of them are really good at defending, others are good at going forward. But he's doing both really well. He's balanced. This is the thing I'm saying. His balance is really good, like in understanding both parts of his game. And for such a young player, this guy's going to be Italian international very soon. I really do believe that if he stays on this road, doesn't have any massive dips or gets injured, God forbid.
Better than Maldini.
We said Prime Rose. Now we're bringing out Maldini. But look, he can definitely take that place in this Italian national team. He should definitely be at the front. It will be in that setup very soon because the new manager Spalletti likes playing with attacking fullbacks, like the Silvestri they had at Napoli. He will do well in that setup as well. So not too long now.
Iggy, Del Piero said he was the best in the world. So,
all right. If you said Maldini, I thought, if he says it, Leo Messi, Maldini, no, we are bringing them all out of the woodwork.
Tim, what do you reckon? Better than Prime Rose?
You know what? I love Rose. I thought Rose was amazing for us in the times that he was playing, but I actually don't think that Danny Rose put in any performances as good as what we've seen from Udogie so far in these first 4 games. I don't think so. Yes,
that is a big shout.
I know, but I honestly, I think Udogie's been that good in the first 4 games.
Salute.
He's been untouchable. He's been unreal going forward. He's been so good defensively. I think Rose was really good in his prime. Obviously, I think his prime probably didn't last as long as it should have because he got a big injury back in 2016. He never really was the same player after that. So he probably only had 18 months at the top of his game, Danny Rose, to be honest. It wasn't that long in terms of like him being one of the best left backs in the league. He really, I think he had the 15-16 season when we challenged Leicester. He had the 6 months of the season after when he got injured. So I think that was pretty much it. So I'm not saying he was bad. He was brilliant in those 18 months. But I don't think he was ever as strong as what I'm seeing Udogie. I don't think he was ever as fast as what I'm seeing Udogie. I think Udogie's a better dribbler than him. I think Udogie's a better passer than him. I don't know what he was better at Udogie at, to be honest. I think maybe a better defender potentially, but I think Udogie's
I don't think so.
He's pretty good at that at the moment.
There's a voice at the back of my head. I don't know if you guys are getting that same voice. Are we gassing these players up a little bit too much too soon?
Yeah, of course we are.
Someone's going to bring this up in about 6 months' time and say, "Look what these four were saying in September." I don't know, man.
I'm basing this on what I've seen.
I'm cautiously optimistic here.
I've seen 4 games from Udogie, and I'm saying from these 4 games, like the level of performance, I don't think Rose was as good as what I'm seeing from. Like, obviously, Rose did it for longer, so you could say maybe that makes him better. But I don't think Rose ever hit this level of performance I'm seeing from Udogie right now in these 4 games. Like, I don't think he did.
It depends. It probably depends on the clean sheets, doesn't it? Like that team, he was involved in a team which didn't lose a game at home, and
Udogie has 2 out of 4 records.
So if we get to the end of the season, that's when we'll say this is where he ranks. But there is confidence. I think also that inverted position probably is a harder role than what Rose was playing in the Pochettino system.
Right.
I feel like you were asking more like with passing in that role.
But when we're having these discussions, for example, I've seen for example, we had the Eriksen-Maddison discussion last week. I have seen Eriksen put in displays that have been better than what I've seen from Maddison this season. Not to say that I think he's better than Maddison. I'm just saying I think Maddison might be better than Eriksen, but I've seen Eriksen for Tottenham put in displays better than what I've seen from Maddison this season. I don't think I've seen Rose put in a display better from what I've seen Udogie put in. I just don't think so.
Big shout. Massively big shout, because I think there was a period where Rose was just literally our best player week in, week out from left back, where he was just up and down that left hand side, defending really well, attacking really well. I mean, it is a big shout. I think right now, obviously it's an impossible question. You can't say that Udogie is better than Prime Rose after just 4 games, but I think there's a big case to say that he can go, if he goes on the trajectory that he's shown in this first 4 games, there is a case to say that he can be better than what Prime Rose was for us, and especially over a longer period of time as well.
And to be fair, I've never seen Zidane put in a performance as good as that Prime Dean Marney performance in the 5-2. So basically on that, Dean Marney's better than Prime Zidane.
It's just, you know what, guys, it's just so nice to be able to talk about our players in this way, and you guys said it earlier, the comparison with we started to talk about comparison between this lot and that Pochettino team. And when did we think we'd be sitting here talking about these fullbacks in that and say, look, we finally got someone that we can be excited about, and that's all we can ask for. Then time and the journey itself will reveal all if we got this right or we exaggerated it a little bit. But do you know what? It's just nice to be talking about them in this way. To say, you know what, we're excited. That's what I think. With the guys in the chat as well, I just want to say that we're just excited. I certainly am excited to be seeing 2 fullbacks. Man, we've been seeing so much shit in the last few years at fullbacks. To actually say, you know what, I think we got it. We got this one right.
Considering Conte's system was fullback driven, the fullbacks are better in this system. It's just like you can't make it up, can you? Really?
No. No. When you put it like that, no. It's just it's such Spurs thing to do. Do you know what I mean?
The question is, did Danny Rose have to Google Udogie to find out who he was?
Well, if he watches Serie A, then probably not. But if he doesn't watch Serie A, then probably mate. I'd guess so. But I was aware of him, and he was getting spoken about a lot. He was talking about they were saying that even before he joined us, there was Italian teams that wanted to bring him. I think Milan, Inter, Juve. They were all looking at him in case, with Conte gone, if Spurs decided that they didn't want to bring Udogie, and thankfully we did bring him in. But if they weren't, they were going to speak to Spurs this summer to say, look, if you guys don't want to sign him, we got there's teams in Italy that want him, and we're like, no, we're taking him on. I'm so glad we did, because this is what we would have been missing out on. So there's definitely he's a good player, good head on his shoulders, man, for such a young man, and that's the fact. I think that's the most pleasing thing to see.
I think the biggest takeaway from this stream is just so nice to see everyone just happy for once and just like positive and looking forward to the next game and comparing our players.
That little voice, Ben. That little voice. Is that little voice going like us? We need to we need someone to when you know someone's going to stop getting carried away, relax, wait, hold.
We have that post-ankle glow. That's what we all have.
I like that. That's good.
North London derby in 2 weeks and Liverpool. I think I want to see these two games, and I don't care whether. Of course, I care if we win or lose, but I don't think I'm trying to. I don't care if we don't win. I want to see us present every minute of every moment of those games. I want to see us there. Then I can accept whatever outcome, wherever it will be, it will be. But I just want to see us arrive, be present, fight, and live it to the last moment. Both games, home and away. That's what I want to see. After that, I'll take anything.
I'm just going
to stay there. I'm just going to leave it there. Because I'm already in pre North London derby mode already, and it's 2 weeks, and I can't last that long. I need to just rein it in a little bit.
I'm just enjoying it now because I do have a bit of a bad feeling about those two games. I'm not going to lie, not because
there we go.
I do.
I'm going to call you.
Enjoying it now. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the Angeball and the wins and the performances now because those two teams.
Because you know what's coming, right?
I know what's coming. I do know what's
one over the top ball and we're back, baby.
I just need to enjoy it now, being everyone raving about it because I think those Arsenal Liverpool games are going to be really difficult for us.
Bloody international break. We would have played them by now.
And I think that we'll give it a go. We'll be in the games and stuff. But the problem I look at, when I see Arsenal, is their biggest strength is Martinelli and Saka, and that's where our biggest holes are, and that's what I'm worried about. Things like that. And when it comes to Liverpool, they're like an amazing counter-pressing team, which I don't think we faced a really good one yet. And so that's just what I'm worried about, these kind of things. So we'll have to wait and see. I think tactically it's going to be interesting. I just think if because we're at our early stages of our project, I think these games are going to be very difficult. If they were maybe next season, it might be a different case. But it's going to be I think these two games are going to be very difficult for us.
Wow.
Sorry to get down on things.
Yeah, back down to earth. Welcome back, everyone.
That 360 bang.
Here saying, how nice is it?
No, listen, I understand the concerns, and you should always be on your guard. Listen, I get it. We've got to be on our guard, and those tests are coming. But you know what? How else are we going to find out about these boys in this team that we're singing their praise right now? Those are the games that you want to see. And like I said, I can take any result, man. If I see that our boys have given everything in every single moment of that match, then I'll be like, you know what? I can live with that. It's when we don't turn up, when we don't even make the journey. We're literally like just visitors, ready to get pumped and go home. That I can't live with, man. It don't matter what the result is. I'll get more angry about that than the actual result. And that's why I don't. That is all I ask, and I hope, and I'm sure of it, that we will get. We will get a fighting team. That's all I ask for, man.
All right. Big up, Iggy. Big up, Sonny. Thank you so much for coming on today, Sonny. Do you want to tell the people where they can find you? What's going on in your channel this week?
Yes, I hope I had a good debut there. So hopefully, like most of these Tottenham players as well.
Obviously, some love in the comments for his debut.
And obviously, Sonny Talk Spurs on YouTube, closing in on a K of 1,000 subscribers. So get over, and I've got I've got Sim on the channel on Friday. We did a video earlier, so you can watch that. A little, can we finish in the top 4? So there's a bit more positive vibes there. And just lots of constant stuff going. I've been going about a month now, going quite well, and just good to get on channels like this and plug myself a little bit and get my face out there.
The next debate will be, is Sonny Talk Spurs better than Prime Paul Coit? That'll be the next
Talksport rivalry as well. We're both I'm not sure he's at Talksport anymore, but so a little bit of a derby.
Iggy, Tottenham away. Tell the people what's going on Tottenham away this week.
Well, we got morning videos. I do the morning videos pretty much daily. I think what I'm telling you about, we'll be back tomorrow doing that. So, and there's always something going on. Got North London is ours show. That's going to heat up in the next week, leading up to the North London derby. Can't even begin to tell you what's going to
Who's
happen
on
on those
that?
shows. Mari hosts that, and we have various guests that go on it. But that's going to heat up in the lead up to that. But we got Monday night live streams coming. Give us a the recap of the weekend and how we felt during that game. But there's literally these live streams going on pretty much every other night, and obviously morning videos by myself. So definitely, guys, if you're on the chat and you enjoy that sort of content, it's all Spurs content, so, come over to Tottenham Away and hit us a like and subscribe, man.
Well, there you go. 2 great Spurs channels. So go and hit that subscribe button on Sonny Talk Spurs and Tottenham Away. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today for yet another panel show. Me and Sim are back tomorrow for Predict the Prem on the Ball. So go and have a look at that when it comes out. But we'll see you all very soon. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.